Hey guys, in this redgamertech.com video we're going to be taking a look at the Steam sale, today's only, which is July the 13th, 2012 of course. There's actually pretty good deals on today, and as usual I'll be giving them in Great British Pounds, but I will be giving the percentage off. More importantly, I'll be giving my opinions briefly on the games, and you can make your decisions on if it's, your thing or not. So anyway, first one, probably the biggest one to be honest, included, and I'll, cut out your time if this is the only one you're really interested. Max Payne 3, have got a video of this on the channel while I'm going through the first little bit of the game and I'm giving my impressions of it. My impressions, if you're just looking for a shortcut, is very good. It's definitely worth the $14.99 or 50% off that Steam are asking for it. Definitely a great game. It's actually one of the first Max Payne's I actually played through even slightly. Definitely worth playing. It's one of those games where it's very dark and gritty, yet at the same time it's not too depressing. And the voice acting and all the character direction are pretty damn great as well. I will say the graphics look very beautiful and it runs well, no matter what the settings are. So even if you have an older system, I imagine you'd probably be pretty good on this. It's actually heavily optimized. Worth checking out, and also a very pretty game as well. Next up is A Binding of Isaac, which is 75% off, which basically brings it to £1 British pound, or 99 pence if you prefer. An interesting and very disturbing game. The music's actually really good on this, by the way. And some people really like the soundtrack. In fact, they buy the soundtrack separately. But for this game, be warned, it is pretty disturbing. It's one of those games where you're either really going to love it or you're really not going to love it. It's, of course, an indie-developed game. But to say it's disturbing in terms of concept is an understatement. I won't really spoil the storyline too much for you, but suffice to say that it's worth checking out if you're into the weird kind of exploration games as well. The graphic style is fairly simple, but it gets the point across. The bosses are also, and the monsters are actually kind of weird as well. So definitely one for the weird ass pile, but worth checking out. I bought it last sale, I think, at Christmas, for around the same price actually, and well worth checking out. Next up is Sonic Generations. If, like me, you're a long-term Sonic fan, or should I say Sega fan, I played Sonic back in the days of the Genesis or Mega Drive if you're in the United Kingdom, and even, I believe, owned it on the Master System, which of course was the 8-bit version of the, 8-bit console that was a prequel, of course, to the Mega Drive. It's actually a painful experience being a Sonic fan for quite a while now. There's been the odd game here or there, although we did actually give Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2, I believe it was, away on our channel. We do sometimes give away stuff, so it's worth subscribing just for that. Anyway, as I was saying, Sonic Generations is actually a very good Sonic game. Personally, this is a personal preference, you understand. I'm not so much of a fan of the future Sonic parts. I more prefer the older traditional platform, but that isn't to say the 3D sections suck balls, because they actually don't for once. Sonic definitely hasn't looked so good in quite a while, and Mortal Kombat hasn't played so good in a while. I'd actually highly recommend you check this out, even if you're not a Sonic fan and you're just into some fun and arcadey kind of action. Definitely worth it. If you're into platforms or Sonic, then you're basically in for a treat. If you've been jaded somewhat by Sonics in the past, definitely check this one out. Moving on is Warhammer Space Marines. Now, this can be somewhat overlooked by people who are not major Space Marines fans, because they say, they need to know the lore or whatever. To be honest with you, I'm not a particularly big Space Marines fan. I think that most I've done is seen the movie. There is a movie of it, and it's, in case you're wondering, it's okay, it's worth checking out, even if you're not a fan, because I quite like the character development and all that. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. As I was saying, Space Marines, the game, however, is actually pretty damn great. It has a few flaws, and of course, at the end of the day, it's kind of hack and slash and shooting. But sometimes that's just what you want, and you know what? Balls to the fact that it's hack and slash and shooting. It's bloody fun. And yes, I did go there and say bloody, there you go. It is actually insanely fun, and more to the point, you feel extremely powerful. if you ever played God of War, and goodness knows I think most of you have, you know how you actually feel really powerful when you're playing Kratos, and you think to yourself, you don't care if that thing's 15,000 times taller than you, and you're about as tall as its toenail, but you still feel like you can kick its ass. You feel like that in Space Marines, and the fact that you actually heal by murdering is just awesome. And the fact that you actually are part of a squad in a larger war for the most part, definitely worth checking out. I played through about a third of it. I do actually have plans to go through again and try and complete the rest of it, but definitely worth checking out. Anyway, next up is Tribes Ascend, the Steam Starter Pack. Obviously, Tribes Ascend itself is a free-to-play game. I haven't actually personally checked this one out. On the other hand, this is basically, you get a lifetime 50% XP boost for weapons, base classes, 2 class unlocks, a few perks, and some gold, 800 of it within the game. Whether you'll want to buy this or not heavily depends on if you're a major, Tribes player, and there's not really that much to say on it. It's not particularly, awesome or anything. It's 75% off though, which makes it £3.74. So, you might want it, you might not. Depends heavily on if you're turned on by that kind of thing. Moving on is Indie Bundle 2, which is 75% off, which brings it to just about £7. It's actually pretty good value because you actually get some really good games on this one. Perhaps 2 of the best ones, at least from what I've heard. I haven't actually checked all of these out. There is Botanacula, Divine Cybermancy, Oil Rush, Spice, and finally Universe Sandbox. Perhaps the 2 that most people are really going to want are Botanacula, which Amata on this channel has covered. It's a bit of an odd point and click. She reliably informs me it's fun and worth checking out, but perhaps not the best game ever. But there has been quite a lot of point and clicks recently, actually, which is kind of a glut of them. Not necessarily a bad thing, because to say that we were starved for them for a while is kind of like saying a desert really doesn't get that much rain. On the other hand, the Universe Sandbox is really cool. You can basically create your own universes as you would expect. It basically does what it says on the can. To be honest, I would probably say not to even bother to buy one of these games separately. The fact is, for example, Botanacula is £5 and Universe Sandbox £4, and Oil Rush, for example, is £6, and Splice is £3.49. Even if you wanted to say that all you wanted was, say, Splice or Oil Rush, the fact of the matter is you may as well go ahead and spend the extra couple of, dollars or pounds or whatever your currency is and go ahead and get everything, because, to be honest with you, it's kind of pointless not to in this case. So I'd say it's one of those cases where if you want one of them, unless it's maybe Divine Cybermancy and you're really not interested in anything else, I'd say to probably get all of the pack. Because to be honest, you'll probably end up kicking yourself otherwise, because it's so cheap to get all the games. It kind of makes it pointless not to. Next up is Payday The Heist, which is a somewhat unique first-person shooter. Graphics aren't amazing. They're not bad, they're just not astounding. But it does what you need to, see, basically. It's not terrible, it's just not going to be like Crisis or anything like that. It somewhat reminds me of actually Left 4 Dead 2 in graphics, maybe a little bit better. Anyway, the point of the game is that basically you are a bank robber, and it's fairly unique because you're actually supposed to be trying to rob a bank. It's really cheap, it's 75% off, £3.74. It reviews fairly well. I've not actually really played this. I actually went through a phase where I was really going to buy it, but then I just didn't actually end up getting it. I do know 1 or 2 people who played it and they said it's pretty damn good. So worth checking out if you're interested in a bit of a unique first-person shooter. Of course, it does have multiplayer and all the other stuff that you'd expect. So it could be worth checking out if you're interested in a bit of a twist on FPS. Average kind of review is around 8 out of 10. So, not bad. Certainly worth checking out for the price, anywho. Next up is Anno 2070, where basically you're in charge of building. It actually looks very good aesthetically. It's actually fairly recent release as well, in November of last year, shall I say, not this year, that would be a bit difficult. It's actually not a bad price also. You can buy the deluxe edition for £17.49 or 50% off, and you can also get 50% off the regular edition, which makes it £15. And you can also buy the entire collection, which comes with all the other goodies. It's 69% off, tee which makes it £16.99. Not bad at all. You get quite a few pieces of DLC with that, including the Silent Running package, the Eve package, the Central Statistical package, and the Eden Series package. I've skipped a few there just because I'll be here forever and a day reading all of those ones out. Definitely worth checking out if you're a strategy fan. It's one of those games, once again, I did quite a lot of research on because I was going to play it, but then so much other stuff came up. I do know, however, it's very critically, shall I say, if I can pronounce words suddenly, acclaimed. Decent Metascore as well, with 83. If you're into your strategy and building kind of SimCity type of games, it's not bad. Certainly worth checking out. I would say that, you know, if you're into a first-person shooter, obviously you're going to want to give it a miss, but that's kind of stating the obvious. Other than that, definitely worth it. Next up, From Dust, another fairly unique game actually, very unique, which is cool. Basically, to say that this is a beautiful game is actually a bit of an understatement actually. It can look extremely pretty, it can also look a little bit barren in some shots, to be honest, but generally speaking it looks pretty damn nice, where you can actually almost master the elements, to be honest, and you have to basically hold people and help them survive. It's somewhat similar to Populous in that respect, although you know have a lot more control over the landscape, that type of thing. For the price, which is 75% off, by the way, it's not bad. That brings it to £2.99 or about £3, which is not terrible. Basically, the average review usually puts it in about 7.5 to 8 range. But if you're unsure about this one, adventure simulation type of genre, I mean, it was released in August, so, you know, about a year old now. So, if you're interested in this type of game at all, you know, the God game or, you know, the strategy kind of populous type of games, it might be worth checking out for you. It's probably not the best deal that you're ever going to get in your entire life, but it's certainly worth, you know, at least playing maybe once. Okay, guys, with all of the big deals for today out of the way, just happens if you do, you know, manage to catch the video, well, as I'm releasing it, there are a couple of deals currently available, including Lara Croft and Tomb Raider Sale, which is pretty cool. There's also Street Fighter, or so I say Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, Worms, and finally Horde. Worms is 75% off, which brings it to £4.49. I have no idea why this game is still so bloody expensive. It's almost irritating, but anyway, it's Worms Reloaded. Can be worth checking out. If you've not played a Worms, I'd highly recommend you play the 2D versions, because I personally dislike the 3D versions. That's just a personal preference, of course. That's not a negative upon the games at all. I just personally don't like them that much. I think the 2D is where it's at on these ones. Insanely fun if you happen to have friends around. Yeah, notice how I said friends and then around. So I'm not trying to imply that you have no friends. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, it's actually a pretty good price. For this particular game. It seems to just forever and a day hold its value, and I think this is just about the cheapest I've seen it on Steam, unless I'm being insane. I'm pretty sure not. It's hard to tell, but anyway, it's pretty damn good price anywho. There's also a Tomb Raider Sale, which of course includes Lara Croft, the Guardian of Light, which is pretty damn good. Very puzzle solving, and also the fact that you can actually play with a friend. Although most of you, I think, are going to want to play as Lara Croft since she can actually shoot. Although her friend is actually fairly useful and isn't just there and, you know, looks menacing for no particular reason. As for the other ones, I'm not particularly, well, thinking they're amazing deals. Street Fighter Arcade Edition, pretty damn good. £6.24. You can probably get it for about maybe 10 or so on the consoles. The only slight problem for, of course, Street Fighter is you need a joypad, joystick to play the game really well. I don't think many of you are going to be doing that great on a keyboard. I'm pretty sure there is someone going to link to me to a video where someone is performing, you know, plinking or something on a keyboard now, just to prove me wrong. But generally speaking, for most people, you're going to want a gamepad or something. Of course, Xbox 360 pad is probably not the best thing you can use. I'm probably getting a bit out of tangent with the video now, but I'd probably recommend more PS2 pad or a joystick if possible. And some fighting game pads from Mad Catz do work with the with the PC. Just be sure and double check before you splash your money down, basically, because you don't obviously want something that's just not really going to do the trick. Portal 2 is available for £3.74 as well, just in case you're wondering. There are a few other reasonable deals at the moment, but as per normal, keep a look at the flash deals. Oh, also, GRAW, Ghost Recon Advanced Warrior, is available for the next, well, at least how I'm putting out the video, is not about another 5.5 hours. Not a bad game at all. I personally absolutely loved the first one. Haven't played the second one as much, so could be worth it. But with Future Soldier out, are you going to want it? Well, for £2.49, I'll leave that one to you. Certainly not a bad looking game. It's not exactly super old either. So, you know, it's 2007. I don't know if it supports widescreen. I can't remember that. So that could be a slight hitch. But either way, there you have it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Once again, if you want to head over to redgamingtech.com, we will be putting up a list of all the games and also trying to keep it apprised. Obviously, one of the main reasons we're doing this is completely aware that some people can't check things while they're at work, at school, what have you. So, of course, we put the videos out so we can give our opinions. And we also put out the list on RGT, just so you've got a quick list, because obviously on a lot of systems Steam is blocked, which is not very helpful. Obviously it doesn't help you buy the game, but at least you can plan what you want to spend your cash on. So anyway, hopefully you guys have found the video helpful and informative and all the other familiar stuff. So take care of yourselves, hopefully see you again soon. Bye.